Welcome back to House Fancy. I'm Nicholas Withers. Here next to me is Squilliam Fancyson.
Hello, peasants.
Whatever happened to Squilliam Fancyson? I think he might have left the Bikini Bottom and became a goldfish in Virginia, or an alien's homunculus tumor. Who knows? Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Spongebob Squarepants for like the first time in forever. A lot of first times in forever this month. Or more specifically, Squilliam Fancyson the third, meaning there were two before him. The realest mofo to ever grace the 7 seas, with a unibrow that stretches from here to Cancun.
How's the unibrow? It's big and valuable.
Is he compensating for something? Now, SpongeBob's legacy can sometimes be attributed to the highly quotable legacy characters. The hash-slinging slasher, Tom and Fred, Flats the Flounder, Mermaid Man, and Barnacle Boy. RIP. They should have had a high school named after them. Squilliam is one of those characters, and to be quite honest, he's probably my favorite side character next to any of the ones Tom Wilson has voiced. Have you ever seen him in person? He's like huge. The thing is, while many legacy characters have come back in the later seasons, either by getting their own episode like Bubble Bass or Fred, or their own quick cameo like most of them, Squilliam hasn't really gotten either. I think he's got like one maybe. It sucks. So let's discuss and try to see why they wrote off Squilliam. Squilliam Fancyson is Squidward's old rival from band class.
Squilliam Fancyson, my arch foe from band class. Squilliam Fancyson from band class? Oh, shrimp! It's my arch rival from high school, Squilliam Fancyson.
Is that still a thing? In a sense, he's kind of like Fizzarolli from Howell Boss, just not voiced by Alex Brightman and not a disability icon. Ugh, rats. What makes him stand out is he succeeded in everything Squidward failed in. He's apparently a musician, or at least has a band, has got a bunch of famous friends, and he's super elite to boot. And something interesting I found out is Squilliam's name is a pun. You know how Squidward's name is a play on the name Edward, with the squid attached? Yes, I know he's really an octopus, and animation-wise it's cheaper not to have all those extra legs. Well, Squilliam's name is a pun on William, which both are royal names, and make them seem like stuck-up dweebs. Despite the impact he's had on Squidward's life, they apparently haven't talked in years. Then came the episode Band Geeks. Squidward is relaxing one day, just playing the clarinet like usual, when suddenly he gets a knock at the door.
Yeah, we're with the pet hospital down the street, and I understand you have a dying animal on the premises.
Is it bad I never got this joke as a kid? I legitimately thought that dude had his address wrong or something. Almost as if on cue, Squidward gets a call.
Hello, you've reached the house of unrecognized talent. Sounds as though you've got a dying animal to attend to, eh, old chum?
Ooh, what a catty fellow. Still, I know I have a few people I'd want to do that too. They never believed in me. Squilliam calls to basically brag to Squidward that he and his band, which feels weird considering how he's freaking arrogant. Unless he's Adam Levine, why would he limit himself to a band? That he got an offer to perform at the Bikini Bottom equivalent to the Super Bowl, the Bubble Bowl.
And we're supposed to play the Bubble Bowl next week. The
Yes, Squidward, he's performing at the Ba-Ba-Ba. Too bad he can't make it for some unknown reason, and he was hoping Squidward and his band could act as their substitute. However, as we all know, Squidward does not have these 3 things: self-respect, love for his fellow man, and a band. Squilliam continues to act like a Heather Regina until Squidward swears that he and his band, which he does not have at the moment, will take over for Squilliam and knock the socks off of him, even if between you and me, he isn't wearing socks.
Good luck next Tuesday. I hope the audience brings lots of ibuprofen.
Okay, first off, it's see you next Tuesday, not good luck next Tuesday. And second, wow, another joke I did not get as a kid that I now get as an adult. Squidward does attempt to start his own band by putting up flyers around town. And much like a clever RA, he promises free food.
Not to mention free refreshments. When do we get the free food?
The problem is, as we all know, the Bikini Bottomites cannot be taught worth a damn. Come on, SpongeBob, he's a good kid, but he's been in boating school for like 20 years. Trying to teach them how to be a band is like trying to teach a pig how to read. And as we all know, Harold is always starting something.
Well, maybe we wouldn't sound so bad if some people didn't try to play with big, meaty claws. Big, meaty claws!
Wow, what a racist. You don't comment on a man and his claws, be they big and meaty or small and bony, little mosquito bite claws. This devolves into a fight of epic proportions until class ends.
Hey, class is over.
Okay.
Hey, at least it's good to know they're keeping their anger and everything, like, contained to the class. They have their priorities straight. Squidward, who is thoroughly embarrassed, forces them to face the music. Not literally in this case. Unless he's like that one band, I think they sang Bang, and he's playing the world's smallest violin so quietly, no one can hear him. Squidward tells them off for sucking. Big time.
You took my one chance at happiness and crushed it. I really had expected better of you people. So thanks. Thanks for nothing.
You're welcome.
This speech resonates with the townsfolk, especially SpongeBob, who gives a speech about how Squidward is important in their lives, especially on the occasions where it's most convenient to him, much like the other important people who actually contribute to their lives in a meaningful way.
So if we all could just pretend that Squidward was a fireman or some guy in an ambulance to be in a marching band.
That's right, kids. This is the most important lesson you can ever learn. If your dad is a drunken slob who never supported you or is there for you, just pretend he's a firefighter. Or if your grandpa died and your parents told you he went to a nice farm upstate, just pretend he's some guy in an ambulance. Which very well might have been the case. Point is, the Bikini Bottomites are ready to practice as a marching band.
Yeah, for the firemen!
Maybe you should also honor those two people who collided with a plane. Just saying, they practice very hard. You know, I don't want to make this joke, but this episode aired on September 7th, 2001. So yeah. They spend all night practicing like crazy in order to surprise Squidward. The next day, Squidward goes to the
I just hope that Squilliam doesn't find out! Squilliam! Ah!
Wait, I thought you had a thing. What's your excuse, calamari boy?
I just wanted to watch you blow it.
Furthermore,
Then who's that?
Ah! That would be my band!
We're ready to perform, Squidward.
Squidward and Squilliam both have their doubts, but Squidward decides to take a chance and let them perform at the which is occupied by humans and not fish.
These are some ugly-looking fish.
Maybe we're near one of those toxic waste dumps.
You know, I have questions about how all of this was arranged, which could be better answered at a later date. Or not at all.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Mr. Krabs, don't worry. I'm willing to bet the audience brought lots of ibuprofen. You are old. I know how much you like pills. They're corral. Squilliam, like a smug a-hole, is ready to rub his victory in Squidward's face. And as we all know, they succeed, and they play Sweet Victory, a song I was listening to when I wrote this script. And Squilliam, overcome with karma, has a heart attack, or agita, and he faints, needing to be carried away on a stretcher by the paramedics. While Squidward relishes in his victory like a pickle. I don't know. Heck yeah. Interestingly, something I didn't notice until it was time to make this review was outside of the episode House Fancy. We'll get there. Squilliam doesn't really appear in the episodes he's meant to be featured in. At most, he's just a plot device to get the episode started, or to give Squidward motivation. I don't know. I think, personally, I'm cool with it. It provides an interesting layer to their dynamic. While Squidward's life is arguably awful, he does find contentment in his circumstances, because he does like his art and his music, even if no one else does. Wait, I should rephrase that. He has stuff he likes about his life, even if he knows it could be better. Besides, when it comes to their conflict, Squidward could stop at any time he wants. Speaking from experience, I can understand the feeling of wanting to prove to somebody who you think is better than you, that you're just as good as them, simply because you think by doing so, they'll cave in or acknowledge your worth, or at minimum be like, I was wrong, even if you know the chances of that happening are slim to none. Because if you have to put somebody in their place or prove yourself to them, they probably are not worth your time or energy. Wow, I did not mean for this video to get psychological. I apologize. We were just supposed to examine Squilliam. Regardless, you know who Squidward has this in common with? Peggy frickin' Hill. Crazy, right? This dynamic gets further explored in the sequel episode, Squilliam Returns. Squidward goes on a lunch break, and while he's walking, I guess to go home, he overhears Squilliam trash talking with his friends. He's like, OMG, my friend dump truck likes to make out with hot dogs. I know she only did it like one time, but she's like a sea cow in my eyes.
I just took my private yacht across my private lake to my private heliport. It's the only way off my private island.
You know, I want to say, if Squidward really wanted to play hardball, he could have just used that against him, like, oh Squilliam, so what if I work in fast food? At least I'm not polluting the world with your gas-guzzling helicopter and private island. Squilliam eventually catches on to Squidward, and they rehash their argument from band Geeks.
You are no great shake, Squilliam Fancyson. Anyone can be a big shot in a hit town like Bikini Bottom.
Meanwhile, Squidward proves to me that Blitz might have been inspired by him, or at least one facet of him.
Don't be intimidated, Squidward. Try to imagine him in his underwear. Oh no, he's hot!
Yeah, I kinda get why people thought Blitz and Fizz had a thing. Anyhow, Squilliam mocks him again.
Hold it! Don't tell me! You're a cashier!
Hey, don't say that. I worked as a cashier for 2 weeks at Dollar General. It's hard. You have to know math. Besides, do you really want to insult somebody who handles food? That's a recipe for disaster. Pun not intended. Out of insecurity, Squidward lies and says,
Don't lie. Lying always makes it worse. I own a 5-star restaurant.
Idiot.
And I would be honored if you would allow me to come to your restaurant tonight. We'll all come!
Okay, I know Squidward is embarrassed, but couldn't he just lie and say they're so booked up that they're not accepting reservations for a while? That's the perfect lie. You know a restaurant is good when it's hard to get a reservation, or barring that, when you have to stand in line for 5 hours and hope they have a seat. Plus, it would be funny if Squidward goes back to the Krusty Krab and he thinks he's in the clear, and then either he or Krabs gets a call out of nowhere, and then he could be like, oh hey, I was wondering if you could squeeze me in. I know you know how important I am and how much money I have. Squidward begs Mr. Krabs to turn the Krusty Krab into Caesar's palace, if only for one night. Because who cares if Squilliam actually likes the food so much he wants to come back. And that goes double for all of his friends, who strangely all look like the customers if they were wearing clothes from Macy's, not Kmart. Mr. Krabs, being a sucker for vengeance, is enthralled with the plan.
Squilliam? That guy who made millions doing what you wish you could do?
Don't rub it in.
Why didn't you tell me?
I kind of want to know how this conversation happened. Like, out of the blue, was he like, oh yeah, Krabs, I forgot to tell you, but in high school, I was rivals with this guy named Squilliam, and he made millions doing what I wish I could do. Or does Mr. Krabs know of the beef because of band Geeks? Yeah, that rhymes. Still, as we all know, Squidward's inner circle is just as bad at running a fake restaurant as they are at being a marching band. band. Mr. Krabs can't cook worth a crap, even though he worked on the SS Diarrhea. Patrick thinks working in customer service is like working for the Weenie Corps.
Patrick, what are you doing here?
I thought the Corps would help me straighten out my life, sir.
The Corps?
It is. It toughens you up, and you never come out of it the same. And SpongeBob goes into a total recall, trying to forget about everything except for fine dining and breathing.
SpongeBob?
Squidward himself has a freak out and is prepared to go to Squilliam's house and confess when...
Squilliam, you're here!
Hello, Squiddy.
Fred, why are you dressed like SpongeBob? That's weird.
That you, Squidward Tentacles, voted most likely to suck eggs in high school.
What kind of a school has a title like that? Is that code for something? Did Squidward want to suck Squilliam's huevos? Squilliam is ready to drag Squidward through the mud when suddenly he walks in and sees...
Homina, 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 homina.
Does SpongeBob have Roger's gift of super speed? If so, that's awesome sauce. A good detail I've noticed is how Squilliam, while he talks down to plebeians like Squidward, isn't rude to all of them necessarily, only Squidward.
And serve them with a garnish of wilted coral on a mahogany plank.
This is fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
I think everybody who's worked in customer service knows you can learn a lot about a person by how they treat people in the service industry, not just by how much they tip, although that's important too. Squilliam is super nice to SpongeBob and impressed by his service.
Sorry, one more time.
Squidward Tentacles has the fanciest restaurant in Bikini Bottom, and he does not suck eggs.
True, very true. He only sucks huevos, those are not eggs. Still, I have several people I jokingly want to do this to. I will say, with the giant foam finger, Kitty Monk has the greatest YouTube channel in Nork after Tunerific Tariq, and she does not suck eggs. Too bad everything comes tumbling down faster than an avalanche during a good old-fashioned game of mountain climbing adventure.
I must know your name.
My name?
Yes, your name, son.
Beef Wellington?
Wait, why can't Squidward just tell him, oh, this is SpongeBob, sorry, he's a little shy? Or, you know, have him read his name tag? That is still quite polite. However, in trying to be a waiter, SpongeBob lost something. Something he couldn't live without. His identity. And his name.
I'm so very sorry. I don't know what has gotten into that.
OMG, SpongeBob, that's assault. Yes, apparently throwing your drink in someone's face constitutes assault. I was surprised to learn that. SpongeBob, you are now an assaulterer. By having a freak out, he pretty much gets revenge on Squilliam and his buddies on Squidward's behalf, which kind of makes me wonder if subconsciously he planned this. Then the appetizer comes out and ruins everything.
Run for your lives, everyone! It's the appetizer!
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned SpongeBob stuffed Krabs and Patrick into a room in the back of the restaurant, that way they wouldn't cause trouble. Thoroughly ruined, Squidward has to admit to Squilliam the awful truth. He's poor.
This was all a futile, pathetic attempt to impress you. I'm just a cashier.
Squilliam himself has a confession.
I made everything up about my life. I have no yachts, jets, or anything. I was only trying to impress you.
Okay, I have one or two things to say. Prior to making this video, several people wondered if I was familiar with the Fury video by Alex Bale. Yes, I am, and I love that video. If you did not watch it, the theory goes that Squilliam hires actors to mess with Squidward, and/or he makes his accomplishments seem bigger and better than they truly are. As in, Squilliam could be rich, but not like Bill Gates. Think like Buck Strickland. He's well off and he can get by, but he's not a millionaire, but he spends all of his time pretending to be Scrooge McDuck rich for whatever reason. Sometimes people go deeper with this theory and say that perhaps by doing this, he bankrupted himself. Personally, I like the theory that Squilliam either lost most of his money through his own actions, and whatever remaining wealth he has, he uses to feel mighty to Squidward because he's like Peggy and he has a superiority complex. Like in this episode, he purposefully stalks out Squidward, or at least where he thinks he might work, and then he bribes a few customers to tell him about Squidward and to dress the part. Or during Band Geeks, he paid the doctor to go to Squidward's house and then made up the whole "I have a band" excuse to get him to go. Or maybe he is successful, but he did it in a way where he lost everything, or everybody close to him. Kinda like a cartoon version of Citizen Kane. The people he associates with only care about him for his money, not for any kind of personal quality, and when they find out the bank ran dry, they'll leave him in a hurry. Makes sense to me. Something similar happened to SpongeBob when he got wealthy.
I hope this doesn't put a damper on things, but I just checked and, well, it's just that all my money is gone.
If we go with this idea, a point could be made that while Squilliam is rich in dollars, or at least was, Squidward is rich in friendship. His neighbors still do like him and admire him. They haven't left him. The problem is, Squidward just can't get out of his own way. Regardless, this trait would make him a much better man than Squilliam, simply because, personally, he has more. Sadly, it seems as though Squilliam was lying.
Is that true?
Of course not! I'm filthy stinking rich!
Yeah, I call BS in some way, shape, or form. Anyhow, this is the last time we see Squilliam in the pre-movie era, which I feel is kind of weird. If there's one episode I'm surprised he's not in, besides the movie, it's Squidville. Just saying, a gated community for squids, with all of Squidward's interests, that seems like it would be right up his alley. Maybe it could be his own brainchild. Or heck, maybe he could be the head of the HOA. Of course he would be that. Good thing he does make several appearances in the post-movie era. He first appears in the episode House Fancy. Oh god, this one episode. I'm not gonna talk about that one scene, okay? Squidward is watching a show called House Fancy, roll credits, with Nicholas Withers, who was voiced by that dude from Good Eats.
Hello, and welcome one and all to a super special episode of House Fancy. I'm your host, Nicholas Withers.
OMG, I saw his show when I was like 5. Not as good as Unwrapped, but pretty enjoyable nonetheless. Admittedly, I feel like this episode is a bit of a blow to the Squilliam is secretly poor theory. I mean, unless he got a super big loan, how could he afford a house like this? But this could still buy into the Citizen Kane theory. Maybe he was rich and then he bought a fancy house, and it bankrupted him to have it. Come on, there's a reason why Elon Musk couch surfs. He might not be able to afford to eat, but at least he can brag on national television that he has a gilded doorknob, or a bathtub elevator, or a giant unibrow statue made out of gilded doorknobs.
A 130-foot-long sculpture of my unibrow. If you look closely, you'll notice it's made entirely out of gilded doorknobs.
3 things Squidward does not have. Squidward watches the episode and, overcome with jealousy, calls in and says his house is way nicer than Squilliam, simply because he possesses something Squilliam doesn't. Class.
My house is far fancier than that slob Squilliam's.
Really?
Really?
Okay.
The camera crew promises to go there in 2 hours, and they don't even do any background research on Squidward. What kind of a reality show is this? Kind of like the previous Squilliam entries, Squilliam isn't the main focus of this episode. He just kickstarts the plot. This entire episode is a SpongeBob and Squidward episode, which is better suited for another reviewer. Sorry, I don't really review episodes. It's not that I don't want to, trust me, I do. They would make great Tuesday videos. It's just that they don't get as many views. Anyhow, SpongeBob's antics nearly destroy the house. Right around the same time, Squilliam and the camera crew come on the scene.
Well, I'm not quite sure how to say that.
It seems as though the host is enthralled by the house being a complete bat crap hole.
You seem to have ushered in an entire new era in House fanciness. What you have done here harkens back to the illustrious post-primitive movement.
Dang, dude. For his awesome sauce house, Squidward will get...
At Squidward's house will be featured in an hour-long commercial-free House Fancy special, and Squidward will be crowned House Fancy Prince of the Year.
Gotta say, this is probably better than the ba-ba-ba. For one, Squidward never played in the band or directed them to do anything. His efforts were pretty bad until he motivated them. In Squilliam Returns, he did good, but his hubris caught up with him, and most of his efforts could be attributed to SpongeBob, which I guess kind of applies here. But what I like is, compared to those other examples, here he's finally said on national television to be better than Squilliam, it's something, and not just any something, a something both of them like, which probably means more to him than a stupid band. I think if they wanted to write off Squilliam here, they could've. While this episode isn't anything major, the ending is fantastic.
Oh, don't worry, Squilliam. I might be able to get Squidward to help you redecorate. He is a personal friend of mine. You know, success hasn't gone...
But nope, we got several more to talk about. The first is Professor Squidward, where Squidward gets mistaken for Squilliam.
It is him!
Huh?
Aren't you the esteemed Squilliam Fancyson III?
No, I am not.
Yes, because all squids look alike. Yes, you racist. You would be correct in this one instance, because without the unibrow, the pair actually do look like twins. And as we all know, squids are lazy and smell. No wonder they had that whole scene in Squidville. I don't know if this is supposed to be an inside joke or what, and I don't care. Too bad Squidward ends up getting arrested, and this happens.
Squilliam, as we all know, has a large bushy unibrow just at the base of his forehead.
Squidward chewed tentacles, I'm placing you under arrest for impersonating a genius.
Genius rhymes with another word, and that is what Squilliam is. Do octopuses even have them? There's also I Heart Dancing, which is probably one of the few times I was on Squilliam's side. SpongeBob is dancing to a new song in public, way prior to TikTok.
Oh, thank you very much, darling. And your dance moves are pretty cool too.
Really? You like my dancing?
And Squidward is jelly that SpongeBob is offered an audition and not him. So he spends the rest of the time prior to SpongeBob's audition trying to tire him out.
Come on now, after all I've done for you, we've got one day, SpongeBob.
You're right.
Let's go, we're burning daylight.
Eventually, he succeeds and manages to go in SpongeBob's place, and somehow he gets the role.
I guess he's not here. But who could replace a dancer of such high caliber?
Only the best dancer in Bikini Bottom.
Until he learns who he was truly auditioning for.
Because you'll be dancing in Squilliam's show.
Don't just stand there. Get the sand out of your leotard and dance for me, nitwit.
Oops, but I guess this ruins the impression that Squilliam at least had the decency to be polite to waiters. This aired in season 7. Everybody went downhill around then. Too bad Squidward forgot that SpongeBob's dance was supposed to mean something, and that's why he was supposed to audition.
Now do it exactly as I did, and don't stop till you get it right. And I don't care how long it takes.
So he's gonna be trained way worse than he trained SpongeBob. It's like perfect karma. Speaking of, I'm surprised this has yet to be a TikTok dance. Just saying, the whole "why aren't you in uniform" thing was popular for a while. Finally, we get a proper finale episode with Keep the Bikini Bottom Beautiful. Squidward is given a ticket and forced to pick up litter.
Hey, no more trash. Looks like I'm done. Here, you can have mine.
Do people really do this? Like pick up litter with a bag on their back and a stick? I've never seen anybody do that in real life. During this time, he meets with Squilliam, who brags to him how he volunteered to clean the entire Bikini Bottom. He wasn't forced to, and because he did it in 1 week, they built a statue in his honor.
I cleaned up all of Bikini Bottom in only 1 week.
Bless you, Squilliam Fancyson. Bless you.
Wait, is that statue made of recycled material? If not, you ain't worth my time.
Oh, let me help you out. There. That should get you started.
Stuff happens, but because Squidward got SpongeBob's help, Bobby Boy uses the trash to make a statue of Squidward.
I'm made of garbage.
You sure are!
Great job, SpongeBob.
Ooh, nice to see he learned SpongeBob's name. Maybe he really does have a heart. Or 3, because he's an octopus. Oh crud, that heart attack must have sucked. Still, SpongeBob's efforts unwittingly cause Squilliam's statue to melt, and he gets in trouble for a change, not Squidward.
My glorious statue.
This is your statue?
It was.
Man, I spoke too soon.
Ah! Thanks, SpongeBob.
Now, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but this is the last time Squilliam got his own episode. Well, not counting his cameo in Back to the Past.
Hello, Squilliam.
Man Ray is great.
Yeah. Must be taking care of his community service obligations.
I'll teach him to jaywalk.
I guess he was there to show how far-reaching Man Ray's grasp was. Regardless, this kind of sucks. I like Squilliam. It's a little disappointing to see he hasn't came back. He's just made a few blink and you'll miss it cameos. One time as Squidward's nose in Code Yellow.
No! No! No!
And another time on a poster in The Checkup. It's weird he wasn't in SpongeBob's birthday bash. Just saying, they invited the Tattletale Strangler. Okay, the question now becomes, why doesn't Squilliam appear? Well, SpongeBob writer Vince Waller said in a couple of tweets that Squilliam would not be in the show for the foreseeable future. He said, I have seen no sign of Squilliam around these parts. In 2019, almost 4 years ago. In 2022, a fan asked him on Twitter, could Squilliam Fancyson appear in a future episode of SpongeBob? If there are no plans for SpongeBob, could he appear in Camp Coral or the Patrick Star Show? To which Vince Waller reiterated, we don't have any plans currently for Squilliam to be featured, but I'll submit your request to the Soups and see if they can toss him in the background character level. Which is unfortunate, but I kinda see why he would not want Squilliam in any further episodes. The most important reason being, what exactly would he add? The Patrick Star Show is all about Patrick. The only reason Bubble Bass got his own episode was because he's a nerd. It fits the show and it fits his character. Besides, Squilliam would seem massively out of place in a show like Camp Coral. Why would he sully himself by going to a camp when he could be taking a vacation to Monte Carlo or Mulan or Monte Cristo? I don't know. On top of that, they already have an established cast, and it would seem weird if he just showed up for a day. And don't say, oh, but Kitty, it could be used to establish him and Squidward's hatred. They met in band class. At least with Sandy, they gave an explanation why she's in the show, albeit kind of a weak one. Look, I love Squilliam, but again, what else could they do with him that hasn't already been done, outside of maybe a cameo? Granted, I do have my own ideas. Maybe they could acknowledge the theory that he's not rich or he's lonely or something like that. Or if they want to write off Squilliam and say he's never coming back, give him a goodbye episode. Maybe he hits it big or he makes up with Squidward, I don't know. The point is, yeah, Squilliam is great and it sucks he hasn't really been in any further episodes, but at least we have the earlier ones to look back on fondly. Now before I end the video, I just want to put it out there. If you want Squilliam to come back, do not harass the crew on social media or in public. That's not the way to do things. You might think you're helping, but you're not. Do not spam them, do not dox them, don't do anything. Hey, maybe one day Vincent Waller will give us an episode. Until then, bye.
Come on, everyone! Let's all take a ride in my balloon/casino! Hooray!